Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show. It is Monday, the 7th of April. It's the 7th of April already. I've already had a cup of coffee, if you can't tell, and I just got this in the mail. I'm gonna have a second cup and go. So let's turn the hourglass over. The purple sand is flowing. Today, I want to talk about tariffs versus taxes. It has been so dominant in the news. I think we're being fed this line to be frightened. We're being told from the left, this is going to ruin our economy and blah blah blah, all these different things. So let's first understand what they are a little bit. I know a lot of you already know, but let me just run through this really quickly. What is the difference between a tariff and a tax? Tariffs are taxes charged on goods imported from other countries. Tariffs are taxes charged on goods imported from other countries, which means someone else is paying that bill outside of our country. And I'm going to get into Canada a little bit because I lived up there. I love Canada. Please, 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 my Canadian friends, don't be upset with me because I have to tell the truth that's on the page. You know what I mean? I can't gild the lily for you guys because it's kind of crazy, really. Think about that Canada is upset about tariffs that we may charge them when I read you some of the stuff they charge us. So for a long time, this country ran. There was really barely any taxes at all. We just charged the tariffs onto the goods that were coming into the companies that wanted to do business with the U.S. This is like a privilege charge. You want to do business here? You want to take our money out of the country, and have our people buy, here's a big factor, buy things that aren't American? Well, listen, if you like Mercedes-Benz, it's a great car. Don't get me wrong. I've owned a Mercedes-Benz before. My wife owned a Mercedes-Benz when we met. My mother-in-law just bought one. I get it. It's a great car. They do great business in this country, but you're not buying an American car. So you got to think about how that trickles down and affects the economy. In Detroit, where there's a lot of cars that are manufactured, Motor City, you're telling a family or a worker there that you're going to spend your money outside the country and they're going to get tariff for it. They're going to pay. Mercedes-Benz is going to pay X amount of dollars, and I don't know all the breakdown, but they're going to pay X amount of dollars in tariffs to bring that car here. The argument is you're going to be passed on that bill. Now, for those people that are Mercedes enthusiasts, they're going to have to pay more. You will. Mercedes-Benz isn't going to eat the profit margin. But the message might be, why are you buying a Mercedes-Benz then? And I'm not singling them, but BMW, Volvo, the cars that we bring in, Fiat. There's a lot of really nice American cars that we're not going to have to subsidize the income of the American auto worker, or the guy that's working on the assembly line who gets laid off because the sales are down. Now we're paying his unemployment, we're feeding his children, we're doing, and we should group together and help our own. But again, if you can't afford the hike on the car, why are you buying the car? Why are we buying the car? Why did our country run so well? We were really, really, really rich. We had a war chest of money. During this time, I think it was 1913, I'll read to you in a little bit, they added these new taxes on. The bills didn't significantly go up. They bought the public parks, and Yellowstone got developed and all these other things. They had a war chest of money, and they kept taxing us. I mean, the list of things that we pay taxes on top of that, we're still charging some tariffs to other countries that do business with big, huge United States. But this new thing that Trump is doing has a lot of other effects. Let me go and tell you, here's the list. This list is very small, okay? It's very small, but I want you to, comparative to how many things are on there. Listen to this. On live animals and meat, we pay 21.2% tariff. Now, so if it's $1,000 worth of meat, we're spending another $210.20. Just to say, here, Canada, buy our meat. We pay that number. They charge us that. Dairy products are 205.7% tariff. So a dollar stick of butter, however the increments they sell butter in, you pay $2 to be able to sell it in Canada to the Canadian government. Doesn't that seem like a lot? Like we're we're going back and forth, the Canadian government and the administration now, and the same with Mexico. And we're talking about adding another 25% when you're charging 200% on some items. Like just this ridiculous amount of money that you're charging. Let's see, fruits and vegetables, 54.1%, coffee, tea, 58.7%, cereals, 23%, oil seeds, fats and oils, 44% tariff, cotton, silk, or wool, 98% tariff, chemicals, 29%, wood, paper, and furniture, 75%, mechanical, office, or computing machinery, 52%. It just goes on and on. There's other ones that are huge. But again, when it comes to Canada in particular, I believe it's still 90-something% of their population lives within a 200-mile border. So within 200 miles of all the northern states, the border, 90-something% of the Canadians live. So they're the biggest landmass country in the world now, bigger than the US, bigger than China, bigger than Russia. And yet 96, 94, whatever percent live within 200 miles. Why is that? Let's be real about this now. Let's not say it in any way that's rude or derogatory. It's because of how dependent industry-wide and how dependent economically, and also some partially has to do with the further north you go, the more undeveloped it is and the colder it is in Canada. But still, they trade with us a lot is the answer. We buy a lot of their stuff. So for the things that they make money on, that they sell, we don't charge the same tax that they charge. Their economy needs the stimulation of the United States dollars, vastly more percentage-wise of the gross national product that Canada has. They're way more dependent on American dollars than we are on them. Now, I'm not saying that we hold that gun to their head. I'm just saying that Canada is way more dependent on us, way more. Why would you charge us these percentages and not expect that we're going to come back to you and hit you back with it? Now, granted, there's been agreements between Mexico, Canada, all of North America has certain trade agreements that a predisposed amount of money, a flat tax, if you will, on certain things that have been excluded from the lists of things, which is great. We made it, we went to the table and we made a deal. Okay. But then Canada turned around after having that deal on like cars. There's a flat 2.6%, whatever it is. But the point of it is they just decided to take advantage, I think, of the American on the taxes that were excluded from that list of things in the free trade agreement. So now Mexico, on the other hand, does quite a bit more manufacturing of American goods down in Mexico. And although there has been communications back and forth between Mexico and the United States and Trump, some harsh words being said and so on, I think they got the point too. And I think their leader has decided she would rather negotiate with Trump and the Trump administration than fight with them. I don't think if you're Mexico or Canada, at the end of the day, you're going to win that fight. You're not going to win that fight. You're not. Because guess what? You buy stuff from us, and we definitely, industry-wise, buy from you. Ford opened up and has just announced 3 new plants. 3 new plants are going in the U.S. Guess why? You don't want to pay that tax if it's assembled or made or developed by another country and sold back to the U.S. The fact of the matter is they could open up a factory like that and they could assemble the cars outside of the U.S. and it would cost less to do that because of what you have to pay Mexican labor force workers. Just like bringing stuff in from China or Japan, or as we traditionally know, it costs less money. Even after you package it, deliver it to the dock, put it on the boat, bring the boat all the way across, it's still cheaper than making it in the US. But if you add this tax on it, now it's not cheaper anymore. Now you're not selling that stuff out of China. Now you're not selling that stuff to the US buyer because they can buy it here for less money from another country, or they can develop themselves, which is going to start American jobs, going to start American industry, going to stimulate the employment of Americans. This is part of also what people aren't talking about, what the tariffs will do. It'll bring them to the bargaining table and make them have to make deals with us. They're going to have to pay. What would you rather have? And this is the big question for this subject. Think about this for a minute now. There's all the list of American cars. I'm going to use cars because it's very easy for all of us to understand. And it's how I put it into thought for my children to explain it to them. There's a lot of choices of cars. You know, yes, a Porsche this, and yes, but you know what? You can drive a Corvette. You can drive, you know, a lot of different cars here. A Cadillac is a beautiful car. A Lincoln is a beautiful car. We make great pickup trucks. We make all kinds of great cars. So you can buy them here. All right. If you're going to take away the income tax, think about it for a second. We get taxed on our income. So the money we make, we pay a tax on it. We didn't used to have to do that. That didn't start until 1913. So now we have to pay an income tax. We have to pay a tax on all the goods. Go look through your grocery list. When you go to the grocery store, look at your gas, look at cigarettes, look at alcohol, look at firearms, look at anything you buy. You have to pay a tax. So there's state and local taxes. You've already been taxed on your money. So you made $100,000. You paid at least, after your tax write-offs, 25% of that, at least. So you took home 75, at least, if not more. Okay, so you're down to 75, and then everything you buy, you're paying taxes on. Now, if you're a homeowner, the American dream, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna own a home, I'm gonna have a family, you pay a tax for buying the house, and then you pay property taxes every year for the actual property that you already paid for with the money you got from your job that you paid income tax for. So now you're getting taxed again on your property every year. Listen, the income tax, I looked at a house back in my hometown of Massapequa, which is a beautiful town. Really, I mean, I've actually looked at going back with my wife. And we looked at Houston and Puerto Rico and a couple of different places that would be attractive. But I loved my upbringing in Massapequa. I love being in the United States if it becomes more reasonable tax-wise. How much are you supposed to pay? So I saw this house. It was in this area in Massapequa called Nassau Shore. Nice area. School is amazing. You know, because I have a young son. My wife and I married a beautiful woman who's much younger than me, and we had a baby. And so we're thinking about that. He's only coming up on 2, but where do we want to raise him? Where do we want to be? Let's go someplace in the next 5 years or so and settle into that place and call that place the spot that we're going to raise our kids, put them through the school system, so on and so on. These conversations that happen with all families. Where are they going to go? Where are their jobs going to take them? You know, where's the best place for them to make the most money and live the nicest lifestyle? So Long Island is quite expensive, but the taxes on the houses we were looking at, not huge house, 3,500 square feet, 4 bedrooms, well, on the water, you know, because it's on the Great South Bay in New York State. And I looked at it, you know, $40,000 a year, $45,000 a year, $50,000 a year for taxes. A year. So in 10 years, I'm going to pay $500,000 for the house that I'm going to have to pay a couple $1 million for over a 25-year period or whatever it's going to. Like, my goodness, when does it stop? And where is all that money going? So these tariffs that we're going to charge other people, if there was no income tax, if under Trump, he eliminates, as he's talked about, eliminating income tax. If he eliminated income tax and tackled it on to tariffs that he's charging other countries, you have a choice whether to buy that product. You do. You have a choice. Would I rather have the cash in my hand and I make a choice what I want to spend my money on that's going to be a higher price? Or do I want the government to just take the money from me blindly and I'm just going to give them 25, 35% of my income? And they're going to spend the money on what they think they should spend the money on. Teachers, police officers, firemen, highways, infrastructure, blah, blah. I understand. I'm not saying we don't need to pay for those things. We do. We do. We absolutely do. Firemen and policemen, we should give them a raise. They should be paid more money than anybody else. They should be up there with doctors, what doctors make for what they have to go through. Go back and look at 9/11. I mean, they run into the building. They don't ask questions. They don't have to like your politics. They don't have to like you. They don't have to know you. And they show up with a gun in their hand because someone might be doing something wrong on your property. You don't hit 911 and get a soldier. You don't. You don't get a soldier in the military. You get a police officer who comes and defends you blindly. Now, let's not even touch the military guys and girls that go over to a foreign country and defend our rights and defend our freedoms. We have to pay them. You think we pay them enough money? You think we give them the programs they need when they come home? Now, if I was told you have to pay more than the next guy, but the money's going to go to help PTSD amongst soldiers, the money's going to go, you know what? I'd say those guys earned it. Go ahead and take the money. Go ahead and take it. I'll do less to know that they're okay. I would say that. I would pay that. But the money isn't going there, is it? The amount of waste, the amount of illegal stuff that's going on right now that Doge and Musk under the Trump administration has exposed, why would anyone be upset with that? Why would anyone be upset with putting more money in your pocket for you to decide what you want to spend your money on? So the answer is if you're super, super wealthy and you have all kinds of money, you don't have to worry about the BMW or the Mercedes price going up too much because you can afford it anyway. You don't have to worry about it. You can still have the choice to buy that car. It might sting a little bit more in your wallet, but you have that kind of money. But it eliminates the market of the guy who, unless he wants to go in debt, it eliminates the market of the guy who probably shouldn't be driving that car anyway. And it puts more money in his pocket because we no longer need to charge income tax. Every year we pay. Let me find this sheet. Let me show you this. The first federal income tax on February 25th, 1913, the 16th Amendment officially became part of the Constitution, granting Congress constitutional authority to levy taxes on corporate and individual income. 1776. That's when we started. 1776, 1876. So we went for 150 years, somewhere around there, 150, not quite 150, and had no income tax or very slight surcharges and stuff. And then someone came up with the idea, hey, you know what? We could probably hit, the individuals up, make them pay a percentage of what they make. Why? We were way more wealthy and not in debt, or barely in debt. Now we're trillions of dollars in debt. Trillions of dollars in debt. Our kids, and they're talking about Social Security and not being there and stuff. Listen, I'm probably going to make it. I'm not rich at all. Trust me. You got the wrong Baldwin brother here. So I'm not rich. My wife just had a baby a couple of years ago, and she'd like to be a mom and stay home for us. She's an attorney, Notre Dame Law School grad. I mean, she's hot stuff on the marketplace right now. She'd go out there and kill it. People pounding down the door, asking her to come work at her firm. She wants to be home with her husband. We have 2 teenage daughters that are mine, and we have a baby. She wants to be home with me. She wants to take care of the baby. She wants to be in the house and experience being a mom. I don't want her to have to go to work if she doesn't want to go to work. That's my job. I'm a man. I'm the husband. Will we make it? Yeah, we'll make it. We'll make it. Old man can still hustle it up and put enough food and pay the rent and blah, blah. That's okay. I can do that. Will it be as nice? No. Her added money was a nice cushion to have to go do different things. But she wants to be home, but she still works. She wants to be home. What happened to that? Look at what's happened. This is how intricate this tariff tax question is. When I was a kid, my mom stayed home most of the time with 6 kids. Beth, Alec, Daniel, Billy, Jane, Stephen, 6. And she made us our lunches, and she made us breakfast, and she made the dinner, and she cleaned the house. She did it all. She was a stereotypical stay-at-home for those years of, 0 through 12 or so. Then my mom branched out and started working again in the Sunrise Mall. She was one of those, it was called Quick Test. She went to work there and started her second life, really, in a way. And then, of course, her legendary work she did in breast cancer at the Carol Baldwin Breast Cancer Research Fund. But I'm proud of my mom, if you can't see it in my face. I'm very proud of her, of the things that she built and the job she did. Hey, listen, we're a very complex family, to say the least. And certainly when it comes to these issues of political stuff, we're all over the place as far as our diversity. And I've got one brother that's kind of in the middle. I'm not sure what he's doing anymore. And I got 2 other brothers that, they're way over there on the left versus this brother who's way over there on the right. And I guess at some point, hopefully through this Trump administration thing, we're going to figure out who was closer to the truth, what was being fed to us, what we accepted to be fact. But I got to tell you something. I would much rather. So let me just put it to you this way. You like to go out to dinner. My wife and I love to go out to dinner. I love going out with my wife. Sometimes we have to bring the baby, but every once in a while, my mother-in-law, she watches the baby, and I get to go out with just my wife and hang out, and we do a little fun stuff on the phone, and then we put the phone away and we stare at each other and we talk about stuff. And I love her. It's great. Who would you rather have pay for the meal? Somebody else or you? Think about it. What would you rather do? Have someone else pay for the dinner or you? And of course the answer is, no, I'm going to a really nice meal and someone else will pay it. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. This is about putting money in your pocket and pressuring other countries that have been taking advantage of us for a long time, that have been overstaying their welcome. I remember a friend said to me, I don't ask a lot of my family to come stay too much because sometimes they won't leave. Like, it's nice here. And I said, really? They would well, they'd find a reason they had to stay longer, and they would actually stay at his house. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I wonder what would happen if my brother Stephen came to stay with me and wouldn't leave. What would you do? I never really thought about that because that's never happened to me before. But what would you do if someone came that was a relative that you loved, and you said, they said, no, it's pretty nice here. I'm not going. I got to stay a little longer. I was like, wow. Did that actually happen to you? And this person said, yeah. When they were younger, it happened to them. An uncle came and stayed with his wife, and they stayed for a really long time, way longer than the week they were coming to visit. What's that like? Listen. This is going to help us. It's forcing people to the table. They know that they're going to be paying this tariff. And if they get in the back of the line and dog it for a while and don't get it in front of Trump and in front of his administration and negotiate a deal for their country, you don't want to be one of the last ones that goes in front of this guy, because he's gonna hammer you. He's going to hammer you. It's better to come with your hands, show you have no weapons, sit down at the table and say, hey man, what can we do here? Because I'd like to work this out. And he's a deal maker. That's what he does. That's why he's not a politician. Donald Trump is not a politician. He's not a very good politician that way, because he says too much from the hip. He shoots from the hip. You know that saying? It's a guy, it's quick, it's fast, it's painless, it's over, and you're gone. So I remember, I'll never forget, I think I told this story once before on the show, but it's worth hearing again. I had an agent in LA, and I won't say her name because I think she's still an agent in LA, but she called me up and she said, hey, can you come in the office? I want to talk to you about your audition last week. And I said, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, I thought the feedback was they liked me, and I thought it went well. And so I walked in. I'm new, kind of brash, New York, one of the 4 Baldwin brothers and all this nonsense, the things that we were supposed to be all about in the 90s. And this is, I hadn't been acting that long, but it was a few years in. And I left New York and moved to LA. And she said to me, I think sometimes that New York thing comes out of you a little bit, that maybe you could tone it down a little bit. Maybe you could be a little more careful what you say. And I went, the problem with you people out here is you ask me if I like your haircut, and I look you right in the eye and I say, actually, I liked it when it was blonde and it was longer. It looked nicer. Anyway, let's go eat. I tell it like it is. I tell you what I think. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. And if it's based on fact, we can play the research game and go back and forth. But don't ask my opinion unless you're ready for me to give it to you right down your throat and tell you what I think. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to be careful when it's an older person or if it's a child, how I deliver it. But anything in between that, here it comes. Boom, I'm going to give it to you. So then don't ask me then. If you don't know me well enough to know that I'm going to tell you straight out what I think, then why asking me? You're not really interested in knowing what I think. And it's okay. It's like people on the show. I get stuff that goes on social media and people say stuff that's awful about my family, about my brothers, about my career, about this. Go ahead. You think I care? You think I haven't heard all that already? You think I haven't heard all the insults, all the stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's okay. Listen, God, my wife, my kids, and my friends after that, and I keep it in that order. if I keep those people square, then have at it, man. Have a party. People who would say things to me. And here's one of the things that I saw a guy. He was taunting my brother Alec. He had like videotape of it, and they would go after him because they knew he had a bit of a short fuse sometimes. I remember Alec saying, and I don't get it as bad as Alec. I mean, he's way more famous than me and a much bigger star and all that other stuff. Okay, that's a fact. But the guy, Alec, leaned into him and said, "You realize without that camera, you would never say this to my face." And I know that voice that Alec does when he's really mad. And he leaned in and he went, "Yeah, you realize you'd never be." And I can just see that face from my youth, since I was real little. And the fact of the matter is, that's true. That's really true. People back in the day when I was raised in the 60s and 70s, if you talked smack about somebody, you got punched right in the face. And the father or the police officer go, "Did you say that to him? Did you use that language? Did you say that about his mother? Did you say that?" Yeah, they did. And the cop, he was going to lock me up. You would not get locked up for certain things if you said them to someone or threatened them, but didn't physically touch them. Now there's lawyers and police and all these people have rights and can say whatever they want. But you know what? Very few of them would still come up to me without a camera and say that to my face. They wouldn't say the things they write to me on social media. They wouldn't. And I'm not saying my, back in the day was right that you could just smash somebody, but you could defend yourself better. When you're the celebrity, when you're the person that's the actor or the singer or whatever or an athlete, people think they have a ticket just to yell out whatever they want, whatever insults they want about their families. I mean, it's crazy. The same will happen to me after doing this show. Now, I promise you, I'm going to have a number of people tell me why tariffs are going to ruin our country and why all this nonsense. There's the new Civil Liberties Alliance, NCLA, filed an initial complaint in Florida District Court Thursday challenging Trump's unlawful use of emergency power to impose a tariff on all imports from China. I mean, I don't know what agency this is or who it is that they're saying they're conservative or whatever, but the fact of the matter is these chess moves being done by the administration have far more effect on other things than just the wallet. These are political, these are measures being used to push the Chinese into places that we prefer they be in politically, militarily. In many different cases, it has nothing to do with the money. It's about leverage, it's about power, it's about checks and balances. Did you know that the Chinese have been eating up buying of real estate? And in these purchases of big farms, vast amounts of land, they're all strategically located very close to military installations. So they're looking at Edwards Air Force Base and they're buying around Edwards Air Force Base throughout the Midwest in Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming. They're buying up all this land that really didn't have a lot of value, and I don't know that they're going to be using it for any other reason than the fact that its proximity is to a military base of the U.S. Why would they do that? And they started looking at these purchases under different companies' names, and American military powers, generals, and minds that are far more advanced than mine when it comes to strategic military global purchases. They said, yeah, no, we can't let them do this anymore. So we're going to pressure them to sell or move away or get away from those, because now we can see this weird dotting it near these bases all through the Midwest and the Rocky Mountain regions. They're buying it up. Why? Why are they doing that? So we do a lot of business with China, but China has not been really a great friend to us. They haven't been so far. It would be nice if we could mend that a little bit. It would be nice if we could have a relationship with them that was better than it is. But it has not been traditionally, as it hasn't been, of course, with our old nemesis, the Russians. So these moves that we're making, I'm talking more about the value in our home. I would much rather have, we use the number $100,000, and that by the time you do all your write-offs, you're going to spend at least 25 to 30% of it are going to go to income tax. Okay, I'd rather have that 30 grand and decide what car I want to buy, or what products I want to buy. And I'll tell you what, if I saved all 30 grand and didn't buy any foreign products and just bought American products with that money, I'd be answering some of the problems about the economy in America. And I'd have 30 grand to choose a year, 25, 30 more $1,000. That's a couple of $1,000 a month. That's 500 a week. That's 24 grand. 500. How would your family do if you had 500 more dollars a week to go ahead and do things and travel and have fun and buy things you want for the house? And you need that new couch. You buy an American-made couch. Don't buy a Chinese-made couch. Don't go to, IKEA and charge. Go to IKEA and buy stuff that's made in America. Don't go to a company that's outside of the U.S. Be loyal to the companies that are American, and you won't pay this exorbitant tax. So yeah, I got to tell you something. Load up the tariffs. Let somebody else pay for it. Let countries that we're defending, that we're flying sorties with our military around their airspace, let them pay us for the NATO protection. Anybody else would have to pay. If I went, I remember being at an event and my brother Stephen came and he had this big, huge Samoan guy. The guy was big. And I go, who's that guy? And he said, the guy's name. I said, is he in the movie? And he said, no, he's a bodyguard. And I thought, what does that cost? To have a guy follow you around? What is it? The security detail for Elon Musk cost? Whatever it is, he's paying it because it costs what it costs. That's how much it costs. What it costs, period. You can have a low-end guy over here who probably doesn't have a firearms and he's maybe a black belt or he's a tough guy. You can have the big, huge guy that the presence of that guy, just seeing him because he looks like he's the size of a house, you're going to pay. Or the guy that, is the international, comes over with the Saudi king and he's got an Uzi under his jacket because he has he's unrestricted what he can do to protect him. And he's going to mow you down with a submachine gun. He's probably a lot of money, that guy. Probably costs a lot of money. But you're going to pay. You're going to pay. That's the key to this whole thing. Right now, you're paying. And I can't for the life of me understand why I have to pay all this money when we could have somebody else pay it. It's proven that we can have somebody else pay. Here, let me read you this. I'm going through deep into my pages. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the tariffs implemented by President Trump during the first term clearly showed no correlation with inflation and had only a fleeting effect on overall prices. Economic Policy Institute following implementation of Section 232 measures, and that came out of the White House. So it had little or no effect on the prices, and it's working. So I don't want to beat this over the head too badly. When you elect someone, when someone wins the election, at whatever level, hopefully the things that they said, here's what I'm going to do. What was the difference between me and Alec, my brother, running for an office? We're both running for governor of New York State. We're both running for governor of Texas, whatever it is. And he says he's going to do this with taxes, and he's going to do this with the police officers, and he's going to do this with military bases. And he comes through all his different programs that he's going to do. And I may have some ideas that are the same as him. I may say, that's a great idea. We should do that. We should, set up immigration stations along the Rio Grande at the most common crossings with drones and whatever. We might both shake hands and say, that's a great idea. Your idea was really good, Alec. I like your idea. I'd like to actually steal that. I think it's a good idea. They'll always just oppose each other. Most of the time, it's why that's not going to work, or what a crappy idea. No. I wouldn't do that if I was running. I wouldn't. I would talk about what's the best that the people that I represent want. So this president told you a bunch of the things that he was going to do, and now he's president and he's doing them. And people are dumbfounded and screaming and yelling about, you can't let him do this. This is what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to do this. He told you about the tariffs. He told you I'm going to make other countries. He told you I'm going to take this Doge thing and I'm going to find out where this money's going because I think something's wrong. And it is wrong. It is wrong. They're stealing money left and right. People that have been on this gravy train for decades are now all going, uh-oh. There's politicians whose names are about to be told. You don't want to know. You don't want to know if Nancy Pelosi and her husband inappropriately had voted for things and had insider information and made tens of millions of dollars illegally. You wanted to know, and they tried to set up things about Donald Trump that weren't true. We've proven they weren't true. There's a lot of evidence that suggests he was set up, Russia, I'm not even going to get into it. And if it's not true, things that are being said about Pelosi and her husband, then it should come out that it's not true. It should come out that, you know what, that's not how she made her money. She, sold this stock and made this money and did this, blah, blah, and that's all. Okay, they'll prove that to her. And then you'll get people like me going, hey, they lied about Nancy Pelosi. They lied about her. They lied about the money that she made. They lied about any kind of insider trading or anything they accused her of. It was not true. Exonerate her. She's had a long career in politics. I don't particularly see eye to eye with a lot of the stuff that she supports, but I didn't with Joe Biden either. And when Joe Biden was as sick as he was in the White House, I felt sad. I feel sad about the books and the information and the documents that will come out over the next, that will be released finally about him. And you're going to find out that he wasn't even there for a while. They auto-penned all his signatures. Other people were pulling the strings. Kamala Harris and all those people knew all about what was wrong with him. And the media, they hid it. They hid it. I'm going to touch one last note before I close this show, and I'm probably going to do my next show about this. So I've had some people that I know that are close to the rallies that are going on, these rallies in different cities, these anti-Trump rallies and anti-Musk rallies, and let's burn down the car distributorships, and just awful stuff that's going on. And this friend was just walking up to random people, and he said, you can almost tell which ones were them because their expressions weren't as vehement until they saw a camera on them. Otherwise, they were smoking a butt with their head down and holding a sign. And so he started asking people, hey, are you getting paid to be here? And first guy was like, yeah, I get paid. Because when the rally ended, instead of hanging out, you just see this rush of people that would all leave. They're actually being paid. Not everyone, but very big numbers of people are being paid by opposing forces to the president and opposing forces to Musk to show up at these rallies to bolster the numbers. And they're very, dramatic, and they're very enthusiastic when they see cameras on them. Otherwise, they're kind of just hanging out, waiting for the day to end, waiting for the shift to end so they can go. And at a certain time, even though other people are staying, boom, 5 o'clock, they're all 40, 50, 60% of them are leaving. I mean, I don't know if the number is that high that's on the take here that's getting paid, but how far will we go? How far will we go to destroy what's trying to be done right now? How far will we go to make it difficult to be successful for the current administration? And it's mind-boggling to me that I know, when I was a kid, if you oppose someone, there was even, I remember with Nixon for sure, because of Watergate, there was a lot of press that was given to the opposition, and talking about impeaching him and getting rid of him, but he was caught and proven to have done some bad stuff, so he had to go. But the sabotage, the level of sabotage because of how much money is at stake right now. Do you realize that through tariffs, it would be possible to eliminate income tax and eliminate property tax? You wouldn't have to pay either one of them anymore. If they collected the money they were supposed to, so a combination of implementing the laws necessary to clean up the money that's being wasted and being stolen right now, that's savings, and then hitting certain countries that don't really have, that's a real luxury for them to sell to us, and banging them a little bit more than we do, and charging for our NATO protection, we would have I'd venture to say we would have no income tax, we would have no property tax, and we could send American children to college for free. All of it, with what we would save and what we would gain from charging these tariffs to everybody across the board. Or we could even do something like a flat tax at like 10%. Just 10%, everyone pays it. even the big people, and you incentivize, I know I said one last thing, but I'm gonna throw one more thing out there. When you look at a guy like Musk, because he's so topical in the news right now, and you take a guy like him and you say, why isn't he paying more? Well, there's structure and loopholes in the tax system that allows you, based on the way they wrote it, because they take care of themselves. They take care of each other. These people, the same people that are getting presidents nominated, presidents elected. So there's laws that allow them to circumvent taxes legally. There's clauses and there's write-offs and there's different rules and regulations that allow them to do that. But remember something too. If you're a billionaire and you own Tesla and you own SpaceX and you own formerly Twitter, X now, how many people you employ? Do you know how many people work for him? How many other households are paying taxes based on his business and the revenue that he generates? So if he pays less than the average guy, but he employs 50,000 people, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And he gives away hundreds of millions of dollars to charities and helping and advancing us and getting us in space and making a car that's safe and runs on battery power and isn't using fossil fuel and blah blah. I could go on and on and on. This is the guy you want to go after? You want to go after this guy, or do you want to go after the guys that are tapping the system, that are ripping us off, that are stealing from us, that are polluting us? Gosh, there's a lot of other people out there that I could think of that would be on my list way above this guy and many like him. So again, I think it's just really how you look at it. But this tariff thing, and I'm glad that I got to speak about this today to you, because this tariff thing, it could be the answer. It really could. It could be the answer if we give it a chance and we let it. And again, there'll be some things that we have to look at. We have to regulate it. We have to move it. We have to shift it. It doesn't always, just come right out the gate and it's perfectly smooth. It isn't. So, but it'll find its way. It's a great business move. I think it's going to work for everybody. So let's give the administration and the president a chance to see through the things that he promised that he was going to do. He's doing that we elected him to do. I'm going to end my show, and as you know, I end my show in prayer. And if you're not somebody that practices prayer, then you should turn it off, and I'll see you next week on Friday. So, dear God, thank you, Lord, for your guidance and your protection. We love you so much. We praise you, Lord. In the name of Jesus Christ Almighty, God, let us be successful as a nation, God. We're at a turning point now where the people need to accept what's coming, accept what's here, and work together if we can. If we can find commonality, that we can work together and stop opposing each other. Lord, I ask for that healing, Lord. I do. I praise you and I beg you, Lord. Let people have common sense. Let people have some common sense and help us work and live and love each other. Amen. In your name, I pray. Have a great day. I will talk to you on Friday. Please, 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 please subscribe and hit like and send your questions in. Send your questions. I just did a whole bunch of videos where I individually called out the name of the person and I said, hey, Tom, what's happening, boy? And I tried to answer the best I could, or maybe I didn't do so good, but I'm doing personal videos to people to send in questions. Subscribe. TikTok, thank you so much. You guys are on fire right now. YouTube, Facebook, all the stuff. Twitter, now known as X. I keep thinking maybe I'm just too old. It's Twitter to me. It's hard for me to say X. Thank you so much. God bless you. We'll talk to you later.